What is meant by the word youth? Is it just a generalized term that classifies an age bracket into one category? If that is your answer to this question, you would be about half correct. So, what's the full answer? You might wonder that. I'll get to that momentarily, because today, on International Youth Day, we will be discussing what this year's motto stands for. Because in a country like India, discussing such a topic could never have been more relevant, which, as per United Nations in 2026, has been quoted as different contexts, common aspirations, which is also a topic for today. And when I say India, I'm talking about a young India that works together to shape a shared future. Now, you might be thinking to yourselves, so what? Everyone knows youth is important because they succeed the preceding generation. Why make a big deal out of it? Well, before I dive into any details, I would like all of you to question yourselves and reflect on your past actions. Have you, as a functioning member of the society, done right in so far as the effort to nurture the upcoming generations is concerned? Dear listeners, let me also clarify that my question is not a rhetorical one, but one where I would just like you to pause and think so that we are aware as a person as to where we stand. The reason why I have asked you such a question is because I hope to make you all see that the growth of the youth is not entirely dependent on their actions alone, but largely on our responsibility as a society to create the sort of environment for them to grow in. Just like how a farmer ensures the fertility of the soil before sowing the seeds. So let me start with answering my opening question. While youth does, in essence, refer to a younger demographic in the population, the word youth, along with what it represents, also symbolizes the one thing that has always kept our society moving forward, which is evolution and a process of holistic growth that decides our legacy in the future. That is what youth has always been about growth. Not individual, but holistic growth. Not for any other reason, but by being at their most capable points in their lives, physically and mentally, the youth in any era have had the capacity, energy, and strength to take the steps that have shaped humanity's future throughout history, making them the core of the powerhouse that we call humankind. Now that we know the importance of our youth and their invaluability in our society, let's go further in understanding what today really is about, especially when we keep young India as a basis for reference in our minds. We get to see exactly how a society evolves using both innovation brought in by the enthusiastic and energetic youth, as well as preserving good traditions and cultural values passed on from generation to generation. As recognized by United Nations for this year, the motto different contexts, common aspirations at first appears as just another diplomatic term being thrown around for the sake of it. However, that is absolutely not the case. In fact, it is a much more realistic and honest statement on how the youth functions all across the world, scattered yet united at the same time. Let us elaborate on the same. The world has a population of well over 8 billion people. With a population this massive, it is no doubt that each individual was born in a different place, learned a different language, grown up with a separate culture, experienced different hardships, met all kinds of people, adopted various values, and lived through unique principles. This implies that due to such circumstances and environments in which an individual is raised, it is only natural for our youth to have aspects that make them mildly or vastly differ from each other, be it language, skin tone, culture, opinions, etc. But despite such countless differences in most aspects, we must never let such things let us forget the very thing that we do share in common, and that is that we are the youth of this world. It is what unites us, not physically, not culturally, but in thought. And unity in aspirations and thoughts makes up for nearly any differences that might occur in other aspects. Because after all, as human beings, our minds are our greatest strengths and our greatest weapons. Being individual people with our own identity, we are dealt different hands by life. The same hands using which we must play our best odds, because that is what life is about. So, regardless of where an individual may be from, regardless of their background, education, or anything that influences an individual's environment, a youthful mind still strives for things like agency and independence over their own actions and decisions, meaningful deeds and work in life, belonging, love and friendship, good education, respect, and above all, a chance to do better in life than their predecessors. Desires like these push us to do our absolute best in our work and responsibilities. By achieving so on a very minuscule and individual level, humanity takes a small increment in improving and moving further towards the future. So when millions of youth worldwide create these small increments in humanity's steps, the overall progress increases tenfold. The youth in our world, thus on an individual level, act as cogs in a system with extremely complex gears that work together to move the giant machine called humankind. Because if it were not for our youth working through different contexts on their individual levels, the common aspiration of taking humanity forward never would have been achieved. While it may be true that our society has been plagued by a lot of issues that specifically target the bright minds of our youth, poisoning them with projected stereotypes because of their subtle or vast differences in their physical, mental, and environmental aspects in general, it tends to counteract against this exact unity among the youth that we speak of. It spreads negative emotions such as hate, fear, and anger towards the people around us. When we look into our history, we can observe such poison spread amongst our own ancestors for countless centuries. Such negativity alone has sparked thousands of wars throughout our history, cost everyone countless lives, along with destructions of entire cultures, schools of thought, and even entire civilizations. This particular poison has been running in humanity for so long that it affects our lives in the world even up to this date. Such sentiments only further go on to hamper progress and cause society to regress as a whole. I believe it goes without saying for anyone that such consequences are not desirable. So, what shall be done to tackle such issues? Well, dear listeners, I'd like you to recall my words as to what I said at the start. We, as members of society, must make our efforts that contribute to not only progress of humanity, but also in developing a healthy environment for our youths to grow up in, so that they may be nurtured correctly. It is the responsibility of the preceding generation to ensure that their successors are not left to fend for themselves in a world that consumes itself in hatred, jeopardy, and chaos. After all, even though the youth of human society is the main engine that drives the powerhouse, the engine is essentially rendered useless if its support system is faulty or missing. Engines cannot function if they lack fuel, maintenance, and direction. Similarly, young people cannot recognize their full potential without encouragement, education, and opportunity. Society celebrates prodigies, geniuses, achievers, and pioneers for their astonishing feats, and yet, in their glory, we sometimes tend to forget about the people that stood by these people, whom we refer to as the shining stars of humanity, their mentors, families, and friends that supported them through each and every hardship without losing a fraction of confidence in their ability, the nature of the communities and how they supported their legacy. Now, of course, support for our youth cannot be measured by how much one is ready to sacrifice for them, and neither is it always necessary. At times, support can be expressed as simple words of encouragement, listening before judging, constructive criticism instead of destructive, recognizing potential instead of demanding perfection at all times. Such seemingly small and insignificant acts of faith go a long way in strengthening a person's confidence in their own abilities and solidifying the foundation upon which great achievements are built. What would be a better way for humanity to unite itself than to have its successors lead the progress while their predecessors support such endeavors? Being honest, I couldn't think of anything better than that. So, my dear listeners, the youth and the aged alike, I hope we can all work together as one in humanity in supporting the progress and efforts of our youth for the sake of our progression as a society. For the greatest strength of a social animal like a human is nothing else but the people around them.